Hello and welcome to the next Warren Markets review. Well, today was green day for the markets. The Nifty up about 1.1%. Mid cap index also up 1.1%. But the small cap and the micro cap I think small cap was flat and micro cap was up just a quarter of percent. The depth of the rally was today even. 1,400 odd stocks advanced, 1,400 stocks declined. But the volatility index showed a 4% reduction today from the 19 odd levels to the 18 odd levels today. Uh, this greenness on the market and the broadly even divide then draws attention to what happened on the geopolitical fronts and how did FIs react. So geopolitically, there was sentimental changes, but not real changes. Now, let me explain what that is. The first is that the oil prices remained around the 105 to $107 per barrel. No further news on the war front. So actually nothing changed, and the dollar index was stronger at about 98 odd, and the rupee on the back of it weakened by another 7 basis points to 95.76 today, right? So overall, there's no change in it. So FIS had sold 4,700 crores yesterday. Today, the data is showing that they bought 180 crores. So you feel like standing up and cheering, saying, "Oh, have FIs turned positive?" I think it needs a little bit of digging deeper, which I've done. I'll share my thoughts there on that. But surprise thing is that DIS brought down their sales from 8,000 crores odd yesterday to just 600 crores today. I think it was a very sharp reduction in their net buying also. So from that point of view, again, it looks like the advanced decline ratio of 50-50 means that there was a little bit of DI buying, but even individual investors, I think, have been booking profits today. But the sectoral story actually tells you that almost all sectors except IT were either flat or positive, and the strongly positive sectors were pharma and the PSU Bank was up today. Consumption sector was up today. So the pharma we can correlate to the fact that some results were good today and the fact that the rupee weakening. So when I said rupee was weakened by 6 basis points, the forward premium remains at about 387, the swap points. So we are still indicating at a 99.63 1-year forward rate for the rupee. So that weakening rupee helped the pharma. IT, unfortunately, as we have been speaking, has not been able to participate in the rupee depreciation story because of the AI overhang, and it was the worst performing index with a down of 2% today, right? So overall, what do we make of this data? Well, after yesterday's reaction, today's effect, I would say, was that the story lies behind the numbers. Now, why do I say that? So just digging deep to really understand what is this FIS suddenly turning net buyers. There's no change in the geopolitical situation. There's no change in India. In fact, the currency weakened a little bit today. And then I hit upon what I think gives you part of the answer to today and another part of the answer. So the first was, I think there was general risk on in the US markets because of Mr. Trump's China visit. What happened there is that last minute he added the CEO of Nvidia to the trade delegation. So there was immediately a thing that there could be something on the semiconductor purchases that China would be allowed to buy, and some rarer materials could get relaxed. So some bit of positive sentiment around drove a rally in the US. Maybe there was a spillover, in fact. The other thing, again, not so great but minor, was that Mr. Walsh, the successor to Mr. Powell, got confirmed by the Senate in their hearing. And Mr. Walsh's current position, from what his speech is that he is a interest rate dove but a liquidity hawk, which means that he doesn't want to use the balance sheet to simply pump up. He believes that that adds to the problems. So he's the one who's likely to do quantitative tightening rather than quantitative easing. But if inflation supports, he's somebody who's willing to look at rate cuts, which is a slightly different position from what, when he was first announced, they just called him a hawk, right? So I think there's a nuance to it, and part of it might have spilled over. Now, this is all just my discussion about what happened yesterday. and trying to drift. But a far more significant reason in my view, and is that there was a rumor, I would say still call it a rumor, but Bloomberg reported it, that the Department of Justice in the US is looking to drop charges on the Adani companies. As a result, there was a strong rally in both the Adani companies which are a part of the Nifty. So 8% each, Adani Enterprises and Adani Ports rallied today. And they together account for 3.2% of the large cap index. I think 1.66 is Adani Enterprises and 2.06, right? So because of the sharp 8% rally in those two stocks, the Nifty's rally can be explained. So if I quantified it, I find that 27% of the Nifty's rise today was just due to these two Adani stocks. And then when you look at the FII number, you realize that we know, I will not take names, but we know that there are foreign investors, some of whom of Indian origin, who are bulls on Adani, and when they heard this news or when they got a pre-information about the news in the US, they bought heavily. So maybe those purchases by those specific FIIs caused this FII number to do that. So I dug a little bit deeper because I can't get exact data on whether they went actually bought the Adani from overseas or was it domestic. But if you look at it, it's just a Bloomberg report. It's probably the foreign investors who have bought it. Okay. Now, when I look at the interesting data on the gross purchases and sales of FIIs and DIIs, to understand what they did, because when you look at the net number, it looks like from a 4,700 crore sale, they came down to 180 crores positive. So it looks like a 5,000 crore shift, right? But really speaking, when I looked at the data, right, the purchases by the FIIs was up 3,000 crores and the sales was down 2,000 crores. That accounts for the net 5,000 crore difference. So what does it mean? That it was a reduction in their selling and a step up in the buying. And arguably, that step up of 3,000 crores in the buying was significantly the Adani purchase by foreign investors, right? So that can explain. So if you take away that impact, you would realize that FIs would still have been net sellers in India today also, because nothing really has changed for them to change their view overnight. Okay. Tomorrow's data will probably reinforce this, because hopefully, unless there's a strong rally tomorrow in Adani again, and again there's some foreign buying, but this I feel is a clue. There's no 100% answer to this, but this is how I have made sense of this FII flow today, because if you look at it from a perspective of the F&O side, right? I read somewhere, now again I have to verify this data, they added about 4,000 shorts on the Nifty futures, right? So they're still there, but they were actually also adding a little bit of long on stock futures. Now, was that the Adani stocks they were adding the long on futures? I don't know, but putting some two and two together, it looks like this. And if you take the impact, like I said, 27% of the Nifty's rise today of 1.18% was just due to the two Adani stocks rising 8% each. And then when you come to the DI numbers, when I started studying the gross numbers and the net numbers, then I studied the DI also. So what I found in the DI numbers is that their purchases were down 600 crores and their sales was down 4,000 crores. So that's why they came down from that number of yesterday to only 684 crore purchases today, right? So which means what? There was heavy sector rotation by the DIIs, and they brought down their purchases and they increased their sales also. So clearly DIIs indulged in a significant amount of profit booking. And again, on the F&O side, I found that the prop book, right, actually sold a lot of these stock futures on the option side, right, in today's market. So maybe they were also booking or selling into the rise, whatever. So looks like the news flow of the last 2 days and the steep correction and all of this, and plus the Adani news and the overall geopolitical news has caused to this. So today I would not like to take this as a big read of the way the market is headed in the future. That is, FII turning net buyers is not a big change in the situation. Tomorrow and day after, or Friday and Monday, we'll know the reality in that, because on oil prices haven't changed, the rupee continues to weaken, so none of those indicators are indicating that there are any positive towards FII. So I would hesitate to take today's rally overall, and especially considering that in the small cap and micro cap have been fairly flattish. So which means that even the individual investors, the family offices have been probably booking profits today there, right? So reading into tomorrow's market, the GIFT Nifty right now looks positive and the American indices are also positive. So I don't want to say anything either way about tomorrow, but I think I've got a sufficient degree of reasonable clarity around why today happened in terms of the green index today. And so fingers crossed, and we'll hope that tomorrow is a new day. Let's see what's happening on the geopolitical front and everything. But none of that happened today should make you any different in terms of your strategy. Stick to what I've been saying all these days, right? So I hope you liked the way I went about my analysis today. And let's see tomorrow, another day. Thank you. Goodbye.